Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, I wanted to thank Patricia and Heather for being here. This is a huge honor for me. I'd also like to thank Athletes in Action and More Than Gold for presenting me with this award. I really appreciate it. This is it's not very often you receive awards like this, so it's very nice to get something that's about not just the gold medal or what you've won in terms of athletics, but also about off the track and what you're trying to do with your life. So thank you. Before I go on, I've got a bunch of people here, and it's basically my sponsors, my friends, my family, my agent, and I'd like to thank all of them for coming out here. I don't get to do what I do by myself. I've got a team of people that support me, and without their support and encouragement, there's absolutely no way I'd be able to do the things that I do. So thank you to them for coming. I don't want to be too long because I know we're going to get to some questions, and I know we're running a little late and all that kind of stuff, and you guys have things to do. But I remember when I was growing up, I wasn't the best kid, and I remember my mom in desperation making me watch Chariots of Fire, forcing me to watch Chariots of Fire. And I remember when she first told me, I was like, what is this movie? Why do you want me to watch this? And I remember when it first came on, it was kind of this black and white scene, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to make me watch a black and white movie. I just thought I was going to be miserable the entire time. Very quickly into the movie, though, I found out that this was more than just a black and white movie. It was more than my mom just trying to force me to watch something that she wanted me to watch. I remember watching this movie, and I remember just getting goosebumps. And I remember being so inspired, and I was probably 16 years old when I watched it. It was the most amazing thing to me to see someone actually that I could relate to. I wasn't, like I said, the best of kids. I didn't know what my walk with Christ was supposed to be like. In fact, I wouldn't even say that I had a walk with Christ at that point, or that I was walking with Christ at that point. But just knowing that everything that my mom was trying to teach me, and then seeing a guy that actually was living it, even though I wasn't doing it myself, was hugely inspiring. When Eric Liddell said the line, and we've talked about it, when I run, I feel God's pleasure, it's something that I've never forgotten my entire life. And it's something that I quote now in my interviews and things that I do. When I was getting ready to get this award, I remember thinking to myself, what am I going to say? And I started thinking about Eric Liddell. I started thinking about the movie and all that kind of stuff. And I thought about the fact that people always ask me, who did you look up to when you were an athlete, as you're an athlete? Did you have an idol? Did you have a mentor? Who was it that made a difference in your life? And it wasn't until I got this award and I was having to really think about it. My answer used to always be, never had one. Just didn't. When I started reading about Eric Liddell and started researching a little bit more in depth, I realized that it's got to be him. It's got to be him. There's nobody else that I know of that had taken the stands, that were willing to lose the gold medal to stand up for what he believed in. And that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be like. And so thank you again for this award. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I really appreciate it.
Let me ask you a couple of quick questions. You've done most of it. You've alluded to the fact you weren't the best boy in the world. Without going into gory details, which we don't need, tell me a little bit more about kind of what your life was like and how the kind of turning point in your life changed the way you thought about things, the way you believed things.
Yeah, so I grew up in Hawaii. Not the worst place to grow up.
No? I grew up in Middlesbrough. It's quite similar.
Yeah. I basically, when I was growing up, I wasn't exposed to a lot in terms of what life could offer. And so I grew up thinking I was going to surf in the mornings, maybe work at like 7-Eleven, which is, small convenience, little shop, and then surf in the afternoons. And that was what my life was going to consist of. That was going to be my contribution to the world. And I think because of some other things that were going on in my life and kind of this lack of motivation to really go beyond what I was living in, I started to get in trouble. My parents got divorced, and it was a kind of a nasty divorce. I started getting in trouble in school. I didn't have the tools or the tools to work through emotions and to deal with problems, and so I started acting out and making bad decisions. Of course, it rolled into junior high school and high school, and there were girls and drugs and alcohol and all those types of things. And it wasn't until I got into college. I went to a small Christian school. It was called Azusa Pacific University, for those of you that are looking for colleges for your kids. But just a wonderful school. My story about getting there is kind of crazy. I had an opportunity to go to any school I wanted to in the country. I had, scholarship offers from everywhere. My mom nagged me to just make Azusa Pacific my first visit. And I went there on my first visit, decided that was the school I wanted to go to. I have no idea why, because I quickly found out, and I knew before I signed my letter of intent that I was going to have to go to chapel 3 times a week, and that everybody there was going to hang out at church on Sundays for fun, and I wanted nothing to do with that at that point. But for some reason, I signed my letter of intent. That's where I went to school. Met a girl there, really who I would say sparked some of the biggest change in my life. It wasn't until my sophomore year that she was able to do it, but she finally broke me down. And then and then at that point met men in my life that taught me and were examples of what it meant to be godly Christian men, and how to put your family first, and how to have priorities and that sort of thing.
And, obviously you won the Decathlete Gold in 2008, which is an incredible achievement, I guess, the greatest sportsman on the planet at that point. And yet I know that as well as highs, there's probably been lows, like for every athlete. How has your faith had an impact on those highs and lows, perhaps not even qualifying this year? How has that helped you, that faith?
Well, I think my faith is my base, right? It's my foundation. It's where all of my thoughts come from. It's where I make my decisions. My decisions are based off of, and in the highs, it's really easy, to have faith. It's really easy to go, oh, thank you, Lord. This is great. It was fun. I think the lows were really, really tough for me. And in our sport, or in sports in general, as everybody will tell you, we focus a lot on the outcome, right? The win, and that becomes very, very important. So it kind of can get very easy to forget what's really important, and it's very easy to lose your way, and to just lose your perspective. For me, I was lucky that I always had people around me that helped me to remember perspective and remember what was most important. I had examples like Eric Liddell to show me that it can be done, that you can, be the person that you want to be, keep your values, keep your morals, put God first, and those types of things, and win a gold medal. So for myself, going through, I'll give you guys just a little story, going through some different times that I had to go through, some of the low times that I was having. I didn't make the Olympics this year. I was training hard, fell and hit a hurdle, and as I was having to not contemplate, but just look back on my career and my life and the things that were going on, I came to the realization that it's not about the wins or the losses. It's about the journey, and that's what is so important. And so, always having this kind of idea or this perspective that what I've been given for not necessarily for me, and it's not necessarily because I need to win. It's because I feel like God has given me the medals and the experiences that I have, because I remember somebody preaching about stones of remembrance, and how, for me, these things that I get to do are just my stones of remembrance. So when I get to go around and show my gold medal and things like that, it's my way of being able to say, look at what God's done in my life. When people ask, how did you do that? It's an opportunity for me to talk about the faithfulness that God has had in my life, and I think that's really cool, and it's what keeps me going. Whether I lose, whether I win, I understand that they all play a role in my testimony and my ability to prove that there is a God.
Wonderful, ladies and gentlemen, Bryan Clare. Thank you. It was wonderful.